Hey, so welcome everyone to this afternoon meditation, and we're going to be doing a discussion session as well on how to ride the wild tiger of change, which is roaring around the planet at the moment. So to start with, just let's do a meditation. This is based on Course in Miracles workbook lesson 48. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting comfortably with your feet shoulder width apart. Just cup your hands on your lap, keep your back straight. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, just filling up the lower stomach. Clenching your sphincter muscle. It's the muscle you use to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Locks the energy in and simultaneously draw the energy up the spine. Feel a warm wave of energy rising up into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart, just connecting with your heart space. It's like bringing your attention back within from outside, which is where our attention is normally focused. External people, situations, events. Take another sip of air in and just feel this warm wave of energy rising up into the crown of your head. The cresting of a wave in the ocean. Just pause at the top of the inhale. Just freeze frame the wave. And just take a few moments to check in. Just scanning your mind. Noticing any thoughts and emotions going on. Particularly anything that's negative, that feels contracted or restricting or restrictive by nature. And just notice that. And then let it all go. So if there's anything negative, just notice how it feels mentally, physically, emotionally. And choose to let it go with the help of your breath. So exhale. Just feel like you're blowing all of this out like a black smoke out of your mouth. Just releasing any dark energy, any feelings of contraction, constriction, tension, just dropping them all. Creating an empty vessel. Into the empty vessel, something else can flow. Fresh water. Water of spirit can flow in and clean out the cobwebs of your mind. Smile at the bottom of the exhale, appreciate the stillness, and then breathe in again. So nice deep inhale. Breathing in, notice how the stomach rises, the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Stomach rises, chest rises. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up the spine. Clench your sphincter muscle to pump it up. Draw it up into the crown of your head. Now, once again, at the top of the inhale, just scan your mind. Check in and notice particularly any fear thoughts. So that can range from a minor anxiety about something to intense fear that can lead to panic attacks. Just notice even the scraps of fear, just little thoughts usually related to the world and the future. So how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to manage financially? What happens if I get COVID-19, I'm worried about my family, etc., etc. Just notice those. And now take another deep breath in. Just have a sense of breathing, some space, some awareness in, some light. You can imagine you breathing a beautiful golden or white light into your stomach, into your heart. Put one hand over your heart. Feel like you're drawing it into every pore of your body, every cell, every muscle. And it's just dissipating these thoughts because they're just thoughts. The problem comes if we believe them. And remind yourself of today's idea. This is from Workbook Lesson 48 of A Course in Miracles. Very simple. There is nothing to fear. All of these thoughts are just that. They're thoughts. They're in your own imagination. In truth, there's nothing to fear. This truth is beyond fear. The illusion we've constructed in this world seems to justify your fear, but as Jesus says, the idea for today simply states the fact. It is not a fact to those who believe in illusions, but illusions are not facts. In truth, there is nothing to fear. It is very easy to recognize this, but it is very difficult to recognize it for those who want illusions to be true. And so as you exhale, just have a sense of blowing these illusions out, letting them all go to the nothingness that they always are, always have been, always will be, always are. They're just nothing. And what you're really letting go of is your attachment to the illusions. As Jesus says, it's difficult to recognize this simple truth that there's nothing to fear if you want illusions to be true. So as you pull the lower stomach into the spine, just blowing all of the air out and all these illusions, all the darkness. Imagine it's leaving you like a dark black smoke out of your mouth, the dark energy leaving your body. You're letting go of your desire to be right. The truth is we want to be right. We want our illusions to be true, even though they're not, and they make us unhappy and they seem to cause us to fear. So again, breathe in, and let's just do a little practice period. Which are very short, very simple. So as you breathe in, say to yourself, there is nothing to fear. It's a simple statement of truth. There is nothing to fear. Imagine you breathing this golden or white light into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every corner of your mind. Just absorb the frequency of fearlessness. It's empty, it's open, it's spacious. It feels light. Hence the light visualization. So take another deep breath in to completely fill your lungs and imagine that you're breathing this golden or white light into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every corner of your mind. There is no thought that is untouched by this light. And this light dissolves all fear, all darkness. Smile at that thought as you experience a taste of this fearless light. The presence of fear is a sure sign that you're trusting your own strength. The awareness that there is nothing to fear shows that somewhere in your mind, though not necessarily in a place you recognize as yet, you have remembered God, the eternal loving presence, the light, Doesn't matter what you call it. Let his strength take the place of your weakness. So exhale one more time. And just letting go of all your weakness, darkness, attachment to things in this world that you value, and then you fear you will be less than, you will be somehow harmed, diminished if they're not there. This light is always there. It always has been there. It can never go away. It's the one thing that can't be diminished, that you cannot lose. In the instant you're willing to recognize this, there is indeed nothing to fear. So just for a couple of minutes, sit quietly, watch your breath. Just breathing in and out, nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. Feel like you're breathing in the light, intensifying it. You pause at the top of the inhale, you smile, keep your hand on your heart center. And then gently exhale out your nose, make a little sighing sound on the back of your throat. And feel like you're extending that light outwards to your family, your friends, acquaintances, people you know, and people you don't know. That's the entire human race. And don't stop there, all living creatures, all animals, plants, insects. There's no limit to this light because it's in your mind. So you can extend it out. Right now, it's just a thought and an energy and vibration. So just for the next couple of minutes, practice breathing in the light, and then as you exhale, extend the light to all the world. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about for the next 2 minutes of silence. Just breathe, relax, and be in the light for the next 2 minutes. You notice any fear thoughts creeping back in, just observe them, imagine they're like cloud patterns, just drifting by. They have no power to obscure the eternal sun, which is your source of the light, or the sky, which is your awareness of the light. And so just let them go as you exhale. Imagine you just blowing them away with the wind of your breath, letting them drift out of your awareness and return your mind to the eternal sky. For another minute of silence. And so just very gently coming back into an awareness of the body and the world. Start off with your breath, so breathing in Count to 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just take a nice deep breath in. Notice the stomach rise, the chest rise. Total flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. Just connect with this fearless presence in you. Put one hand on your heart center. Breathe. Remember the idea for today, there is nothing to fear. And all of this can be used as an anchor to just bring you back very quickly into the presence of this presence, this fearless presence in you. If you find any kind of anxiety, worry, fear in any form creeping in, you can just use these anchors, your breath and today's idea, and putting your hand on your heart just to briefly connect in this fearless presence. It only needs to take a few seconds. When you exhale and just let go of the fear, exhale, breathe it all out, let the air flow out, the energy subside back down the front channel of your body. So that's 1, 2, just noticing the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Breathing in again, maybe there's a subtle smell in your nose, taste in your mouth. Notice all of that, notice what you're hearing. Just noticing all of this from a very surrendered perspective. So there's no attempt to name it or judge it or label it, just observe it. Notice how peaceful it is when you do that. And 3, open your eyes, look around for 30 seconds, just noticing whatever happens to be around with no judgment. Just anchor this very calm, non-judgmental state in for the rest of the day, and use this little breath practice and the anchors that I mentioned to help you to stay connected to that. So thanks for listening to this meditation. We're going to continue on with the discussion session if you're out there on YouTube. If you're on the group, wish you a very fearless and flowing day ahead. Namaste. Okay. So, let's do a little check-in, shall we? Anything arising for you, Hazel?
The only thing I can think of is I belong to a prayer group. Other than that, even people from our church, I'm hearing more of this COVID than before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been sending out a lot of Reiki. Then I thought, I never did read my master notes properly. Let me go through that. And it's actually quite interesting, the origin of Reiki. It's not from Usui, the guy who started the whole movement recently. It started way back in the Meridian times, 100,000 years ago. Then was passed to Atlantic times, but from the Godhead. So, anyway, I just find it quite interesting.
Okay, and what's going on for you? How's
Nothing
the lockdown? Are you feeling better about it?
No, simply because you don't know when it's coming to an end.
Okay.
And
How does that make you feel?
like yesterday, I met 2 people, a friend in the morning, a friend in the afternoon, and it was just so flipping nice. Because now with this lady going back to teaching, and the other man, of course, passed on, so I don't know when there's going to be anyone else around.
Okay.
Just wish things could get back to normal.
Okay.
I haven't really got much to talk about today, thanks.
Okay. Done?
Even all the village are locking down for 7 days because they've had 4 people now with the COVID.
Okay.
Maybe that's going to get them.
Yeah, so I had an interesting experience yesterday with, it was really about fear. That's why I chose today's topic. so I was sitting down with my sister, and she came and she said, well, I'm going to be looking for a part-time job online to do some editing work. And she's had this intention, desire, dream to write a book for a long time. And so I just questioned that. I said, but then, you're not going to have time to write your book because you're not doing it as it is.
Yeah.
And she'd said a couple of months ago, I never want to do editing again. That was her previous job. And I just questioned, asked, and it upset her a lot. She was like, you just, attacking me and condemning me. And I said, oh, I'm not really. I'm just asking some questions. I'm basically reflecting back to you what you've said to me, which maybe you don't want to hear. And I said, but like, is this really love, or is it based on fear? Because she's worried she won't be able to pay her bills. But the book is sort of, it's a long time, like 30 years she's been trying to write it. It's like there's something blocking her from doing it, and then she'll say, oh well, it's income, I don't have the time, I have to do this. But so I questioned her. I said, really, is that really the reason, or is it just there's a block in you, and actually you're scared of failing, maybe you're scared of succeeding? The real underlying issue is never the surface issue. And so I questioned it, and it did upset her, which caused me to reflect and say, well, should I have said anything? Should I have just gone, oh, that's nice, that's great, no judgment at all? Or when is it appropriate to actually ask sometimes pertinent questions, which might be helpful to someone if they really listen. So now reading the course yesterday, and Jesus is saying, well, don't confound your brother, but never question him. He's a son of God, and see only the light in him. So it's a tricky one, because sometimes the only way anyone grows is if there's some kind of questioning of the status quo. If everyone just says, oh well, that's fine, even if it's not necessarily.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to just observe the amount of I'm just busy with the session. Yeah.
Well, leave the gate open. If you move from here, why don't you just lock the security gate?
Yeah. Fine.
Just ignore him.
Okay. So it really caused me to reflect and go, okay, was that the right thing to do? Should I have said anything? Should I have just gone, oh, that's nice, and I wish you well? When is it actually appropriate to ask questions? I wasn't judging or condemning. I was just going, but this is what you said. It's not always an easy one to resolve. If you never ask questions of anyone, is that really love? Are you really helping someone if you never question their ego limitations? Is it right just to say, oh, well, that's fine always? If you really care about someone, do you sometimes go, well, actually, maybe someone needs to to ask these questions to help you to self-reflect. But then on the other hand, total non-judgment just doesn't even see the error, doesn't even acknowledge it.
Conclusion did you come to?
I'm not sure I have come to a conclusion yet. I think every situation is different. You don't always know. But I think in future, if that situation arises, I'm just going to say no comment. No, I'm not even, because if you make any comment, the problem is if you engage. If I said, oh, that's nice, I'm almost being disingenuous. I'm being insincere, because I don't really think it's actually the right way. So that's just people pleasing. And if I question, then there's potentially I'm judging, and that can cause upset. So actually, maybe the total non-judgment thing to do is just like no comment. I'm not even going to say anything.
You should actually ask you straight. Do you want a comment which might help you in the long run? Just say it. Don't just.
Yeah, well, maybe say like, if do you really want my opinion? Do you really want my opinion? Because if you want my opinion,
I'll just come out with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just asked some questions, but maybe that's the right. You say, well, if you really want my opinion, I'll give it to you. But if you just telling me because you want to tell someone. But it's interesting how just questioning someone's illusions can really push buttons. And I guess I've done a lot of transformational work and I've facilitated things. So my natural tendency is to go, okay, so let's go into that. Let's ask some pertinent questions, because on a workshop or something I would, because that's my job.
Exactly.
Is it your job to do that with friends and family?
Well, you should just tell her straight, ask her straight, like you're telling me now. Rather than just come out with some.
Yeah, well, maybe that's
like criticism, but
maybe that's a wise approach. Say, look, if you want my opinion, I'll give it to you, but otherwise, I'm not going to make any comment.
Rather say it than do it.
Yeah, maybe that's my answer. Because that's a tricky one. It's not an easy.
I'm sure.
If you say anything in this world, then you're entering into the domain of illusion, and potentially there's judgment just by asking a question. Someone could go, "Oh, you're judging me just because you're questioning." When actually not really. You're just going, "Well, have you really thought about this?" And there's another way of looking at this. There always is. And if someone is like locked into one way, that's not necessarily helping them, because they're not seeing the bigger picture.
You're right. That might be fear that they don't want criticism.
Yeah, there's definitely some fear there. There's false beliefs, and the only way you're going to uncover those is by questioning. If someone's not doing that for themselves, maybe you go, okay, it's not my place. Only if you invite me to, I'll help you. But if you're not willing, then
it's like this guy in the choir. I know he's quite fond of me, and I like him too. If he's married, but anyway, sure, there was such a swift reaction when I put over the comments of the doctor about the vaccine, how dangerous it is, and such an immediate reaction. He doesn't even put any comments over usually.
Well, it means you pushed some buttons.
I pushed some buttons.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If that happens, there's an opportunity.
Actually could have had a fight with them or words with them, but I said instead, okay, but I have been listening to other doctors, a string of doctors around the world, saying the same thing. And would you like me to send it to you? And I never heard another word.
Well, people generally don't.
Perhaps because he, in his mind, is depending on the vaccine for all this, I don't know, insanity to end.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people are. They're like, okay, well, if I take the vaccine, this is going to make me safe, because I want to believe the story that the vaccine is the answer and it's going to make us all safe, and we all need to take it, and then things can go back to normal. That's sort of the illusion which is fear-based, really. It's like, I just want things to return to how they were.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The way he reacted straight away. So.
And I'm attaching to something in the material world, in this case a vaccine, that I think is going to be the answer. And the truth is, it's nothing material is the answer. The only thing that's really going to work, which is what Jesus is saying over and over in the Course, is changing your mind. Is actually undoing the fear, the very fear that he thinks is going to protect him and save him, is exactly the thing that he needs to undo. And that's a spiritual principle.
But can't you still get the COVID whether you fear or not? Jean said that she never feared the COVID and she got it badly.
Well, I would say this is all happening on a subconscious level. I don't think it's necessarily conscious. She said she never feared, but from some of the comments Gina's made, you can see there's fear there. It's coming through, and in her posts and stuff. So this is a deep-seated unconscious fear. It's not like, oh, I consciously fear and I'm thinking about COVID all the time. Some people do, but unconsciously, what's embedded into the human psyche is this this fear that we're not going to be okay. This fear that we're going to be hurt by something external, that we're going to be threatened. Ultimately, we're going to be we're going to die. And what Jesus is saying throughout the course is that fear is a metaphysical fear. That fear ultimately stems from our own mind. That fear is an illusion. It's the fear of our own true self. It's the fear of our own true nature, which we've chosen to reject and now split our minds. So it's the fear of God, which then gets projected out and manifested in all of these forms, in the illusion. So whether it's COVID, or it's lockdowns, or it's fear of being alone, or it's fear of dying, or it's fear of not having enough money, fear of not being able to pay your bills, all of those fears stem originally from the fear of God, from the fear of this of our true self, of this one mind, this presence, this loving presence, which we've chosen to go, no, I don't want you because I want a separate identity instead. And we split our mind into, and now we fear that which we truly are. And we think that the ego, this false mind that we've identified with, is going to save us from this apparent threat, external threat of love. So, if you're really honest, fear, that's where fear is coming from.
So you think that if one doesn't fear, one's not going to get the COVID?
I think if you've really done the work and you've really undone your subconscious fear, which is your ego, so you've come into that enlightened state. It's impossible. You wouldn't get it.
So you'd have to be in an enlightened state.
Well, you got to understand. So what I'm going to say now is controversial, but hey, what the hell? You got to understand that the cause of COVID-19 is not external to you. The illusion is that there's some virus lurking out there that's going to give you this, which is exactly what the ego wants you to believe. False causation, something external to you that's beyond your control, which then seems to justify fear. It's all a very clever setup. But if you start understanding that COVID-19 is a condition that happens in response to many things, there can be toxicity in your diet, electromagnetic radiation, stress. If you get really stressed, stress chemicals, an overload of stress chemicals in your body will produce COVID-like symptoms, because your body's got to deal with effectively a toxic overload. And so COVID-19 is a condition that can happen in response to many things. Right? You referred to some of those doctors. Thomas Cowan put out videos. There are 4 postulates called Cox postulates, which they teach in med school, and those basically prove that some external agent, like a bacteria, is causative of a condition, because COVID-19 is a condition. It's not the actual disease. It's not the actual causative agent, and most people don't understand this distinction. But it's a very important one to distinguish between, because the causative agent, they are saying, is a virus called SARS-CoV-2. But there's no causation. These Cox postulates, none of the 4 postulates are actually met to show that COVID-19, this condition which they're testing for, is caused by this virus. There could be many causes, which I've mentioned. High stress, and they're putting people under huge stress, social, emotional, financial stress, 5G, who knows? We've got high frequency energy bombarding us. We're 100 meters away from a cell phone tower here. Well, what effect is that going to have? Particularly if your immune system's already compromised. Let's say you're highly stressed, you're worried about COVID, you're financially stressed, You've been locked down with kids, so that's causing an enormous amount of stress in your life. Your whole life's been disrupted. What happens then is your body goes into fight or flight response mode, and it produces stress chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, epinephrine, and there are others. And that's a powerful cocktail, which has profound effects on your whole system. Your biological system responds to fight or flight response chemicals with powerful mechanisms. Your immune system gets depressed when you have an overload of stress chemicals, because the fight or flight response mechanism is designed for an emergency mode. It's designed for 5 minutes where it's like, right, you need an enormous amount of energy to fight this apparent threat or to run away. And so it's going to shut down all these non-essential systems like the immune system, digestive system, reproductive system, which are not necessary in an emergency. Shuts them down to mobilize all the energy for this life-threatening crisis. But if it's not an immediately life-threatening crisis to fight or flee, then if those stress chemicals are being produced consistently, it's very deleterious to your health and well-being. It's gonna damage the normal functioning of your body. Your reproductive system and your immune system, your digestive system are going to be compromised. And an overload of these stress chemicals is going to produce these COVID-like symptoms, and it's going to produce the genetic material that they then test for. So your body produces it. They then go, oh, you've now got COVID-19. Yeah, you've got a condition. They've tested for this genetic material, but the cause of it is not proven at all. And that's what they're not. What the ego always does is it confuses cause and effect, and it goes, oh, this effect now is the cause, because they're not saying COVID-19 is actually a condition that's could be caused by many things. They just go, oh, you've got COVID-19, which is what they're testing for. So there's a spurious logic going on there. If you really look at it, you go, okay, so what's the causative agent? And that could be many things. That test, if you listen to Andrew Kaufman, that test was based on a whole load of assumptions and perceptual biases. So what the Chinese doctors did when this thing first happened in the Wuhan market is, instead of going, okay, maybe we should look at other factors. I mean, the Wuhan market was highly unsanitary. I've seen pictures of it. I mean, it's like animals, dead animals, fluids all over the place. It's all mixing, and this stuff is now being sold presumably to people and consumed. Well, probably more likely in unsanitary conditions like that it's some bacteria. There are some pretty potent bacteria. If you get streptococcus or various other things, it's gonna cause you to get very sick and these kinds of symptoms. But what they did instead was they assumed that it was a virus. So there was a perceptual bias to start with, right? We're going to discount all the other possible explanations for these symptoms, and we're going to assume it's a virus. Well, why did they do that? Maybe it was just their own perceptual bias. Maybe they were under instruction from higher powers.
Yeah, we know you.
The Chinese government, we know it's a very totalitarian society. If they were instructed that this is the way they've got to do it, they would have done it that way. Yeah. So there's a perceptual bias and manipulation in there to start with, because you're looking for something, and if you look for something, then you find it. So then they test for this genetic material. They isolate this RNA mutation, and they go, oh, now we found it. But in order to test for it, they have to amplify 45 times. There are 45 cycles of this PCR test, which means that any error to start with gets amplified massively. Yeah. 45 times amplification, because it's like a needle in a haystack, and now they've got to amplify it to find it. So Andrew Kaufman was going, well, at 45 times, and that's, by the way, the absolute upper threshold of these tests. They've taken it to the very max. You're likely to get a lot of errors, which is why this test is not accurate. Apparently, four and five of these tests, which they say you tested positive, are false positives.
But the thing is, it's
80% false positive.
Second time around, even my ex-husband.
Because the tests for genetic material that the body's producing anyway. And that can be caused by many things. They have not proved causation between a SARS-CoV-2 virus or any of the apparent mutant strains that are now there and the test and COVID-19, which is a condition. You got to understand. There's a difference between the causative agent and the condition that they're testing for. If they convince you that COVID-19 is the disease, it's the effect and the cause all in one, which is kind of what it's, oh, you got COVID-19. Okay, well, what is that? Is that the virus or is that the condition? No, it's a condition. Well, what's the causative agent? Oh, well, that could be a number of things, because this doesn't satisfy any of Koch's postulates, which is what they teach in med school. Those are the 4 tests that prove, okay, this particular agent, this bacteria or whatever, will always produce these symptoms. These symptoms, COVID-19 symptoms, are extremely general.
Yeah.
They can happen. Many things can cause you to get respiratory conditions, can cause mucus, can cause coughing. These are common symptoms. Any cold or flu. So how do we know that what is actually causing this? We don't. And so now it's like you've got a test that tests for this, and a lot of people are testing for it, and they go, you got COVID-19. Oh, there's a pandemic. But hang on. The way this whole thing's been set up from the start, from the design of the test, the development of the test, the assumption that SARS-CoV-2 is causing this without actually going through their own medical tests. Koch's postulates are not met.
Yeah.
And no one is, well, there are some doctors questioning it, but most people don't even know about this. They're ignorant. So then they go, oh, I could get this thing, but actually this thing is a product of their own immune system, which is produced by largely by their own mind, their own fear. If you fear a lot and you go into fight or flight response mode, then your body will probably show these symptoms, and will start producing these genetic mutations. So you're making yourself sick, which is really what A Course in Miracles and all spiritual teachings are saying. It's in the mind. The mind is an extraordinarily powerful agent. The mind controls the body, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So the mind is the causative agent. Once you understand that, you go, well, if I don't fear, then there's nothing to fear, as he says.
That's how I feel.
There's nothing to fear. But if you buy into the ego's viewpoint, then fear is inevitable, because now there's an external cause. You can get sick from this. You can die from this. And you need to take all these precautions. And what that does is it allows you to be controlled. Because fear is a primary weapon. Every single totalitarian control system in history has used fear in one form or another to control the population. So that's what's happening.
Even this person you phoned just now, it's in my choir.
Mhm.
Just before lockdown, she said she's dead scared of this virus. She openly said she's dead scared of it.
But it's a
And
false
then,
perception.
yeah,
That
but guess
fear.
what? She was so sick.
Well, dead scared. What is that? It's like I've got the fear of death in me. If you dwell on those kinds of thoughts, the emotions and those emotions, your body is going to produce a whole lot of stress chemicals that are going to make you sick if you keep producing them. So now we've got a system going on around the world where everyone's being exposed to like fear. This is all terribly fearful. And, the COVID stats are increasing now. The second wave, there's a mutant virus. They're locking people down, not enough exercise, not enough fresh air. They're putting people into stressful environments. Now you've got, homeschooling, which you've got to deal with. You've got to somehow earn a living at the same time, which is going to, and how are you supposed to do that and do homeschooling at the same time?
Yeah.
No one's telling you. So huge amounts of stress, and that's going to produce stress chemicals in people. And if that continues and that's elevated, if you have elevated cortisol and adrenaline levels over a long period of time, then you're likely to get these symptoms. Your body can't cope. It's gonna try and the immune system is going to try and deal with it, and you're going to get these genetic mutations, these RNA mutations, which then will be picked up by this test. And then you've got COVID.
This doctor's even saying, I took a chance and sent it to my choir because I've been very careful since that I grew up. And this doctor is very practical, but he also says the air is clean. You can walk to parks and public places. Just keep your physical distance for protection. Where else does it say here? You know, he says kind of get out there. Stop closeting yourselves inside.
Well, fresh air, sunlight, these are things that are good for the body and the immune system. If you deprive yourself of those, you're more likely to get sick. So,
you should be outside for at least 10 minutes a day because there are very powerful rays coming from the Godhead.
Well, just sunlight.
No, but it's not actually the sun. These
Cosmic
rays are
rays.
so powerful, they step down from one cosmos to the other, and you need to be out there for at least 10 minutes a day. I got that from when I studied with the Theosophical Society. Never forgotten that. In fact, this one prayer group I used to go to maybe second week. Don't know when ever they're going to open again, but she called herself the seventh ray. There are 7 rays, but found that quite interesting.
Well, there's other frequencies where, what we live in, the illusion we live in, this is a very narrow band of electromagnetic frequency that we see, but there's a huge range of frequencies. And ultimately, what the Course is pointing us to is beyond all this, which is what I love. It's not about anything external. Yeah, you can while you're apparently in a body, there's things you can do that are going to help your body, that are healthful. Eating, we've got a whole lot of fresh veggies here, to eat like fresh fruit and vegetables because it's got life energy in it. It's absorbed the life energy from the rain, from the sun, from the soil, and now you ingest that, and it's that's going to help you. You can do all those things, but ultimately it comes down to your mind. It's a decision in your mind. So the subject of today's discussion session was, how do you ride the wild tiger of change? Because there's massive change ripping around the planet. This is it marks the change, I think, in a social order. We are being taken into another way of living. This is manipulation of society, using COVID, and there has to be some apparent reason for all of it. So the world is changing, whether you like it or not. So how are you going to deal with it is the only question. And you can't necessarily change the external circumstances. You can't change what's happening globally. That's beyond the power of any one person to change. But what you can change is your mind about it. And that's what the Course is pointing to. It's saying, look, you can change your mind. You can choose how you want to perceive this. That's the only power that you really have. Are you going to fear this? Are you going to allow this to control you and make you sick? Or are you going to see it differently? And that's a power that no one can take away from you. The media, the governments, etc., they can't tell you how to think.
I don't fear the COVID, never had, but it's very difficult to live on your own all the time, because more and more my friends, especially ones living in the retirement villages, are shutting themselves down.
Yeah, well, consequences are isolation, which is the ego's stock in trade. I'm all on my own, right? That's its illusion. I'm on my own. And so it creates separation. Separation creates more negative chemicals, stress chemicals, cortisol and adrenaline. And you're likely to make a lot of people sick by doing this, which, if you're really looking at the system, you go, well, it's a system designed based on sickness. It's designed to make people sick. And actually, what they say is going to protect you is not going to protect you. It's more likely to make you sick than anything else. But you have a choice. Do you believe it or not? No one can tell you what to believe. It's up to you. And your beliefs will determine whether you fear or not. If you believe one part of the ego's thought system, you believe in this external causation, you believe there's really something out there that can get you, then you have to buy the whole thing. It's like once you start down that track, fear is inevitable. And fear is not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you healthy. It's not going to make you any kind of positive, inspiring change agent in the world.
Yeah.
The only way is to undo fear. As he says, there's nothing to fear. That's a categoric statement. He's saying there is nothing to fear. It doesn't matter what is going on in the illusion. And let's just revisit that. I'm going to share my screen for those on YouTube, because it's really worth looking at this text, saying the idea for today simply states a fact. It is not a fact as we believe in illusions, but illusions. Very, very categoric, very clear. In truth, there is nothing to fear. It is very easy to recognize this if you want to, but it's very difficult to recognize it for those who want illusions to be true. So you mentioned, that friend who was, if you want your illusion to be true, you're gonna reject this. You're not gonna recognize this. There's nothing to fear because you actually want the illusion to be true. And the only reason you want the illusion to be true is because it justifies your separate self and your separate existence. If I'm apparently separate, I'm a body. If there's this external causation going on, then I must be a separate self, and that's all the ego is trying to do in this. So ultimately, this is a spiritual problem.
I was just going to say,
It's not a medical problem. It's a spiritual problem.
I'd like to know, according to what your religion is, if there's more fear in one religion than another.
Oh, well, some religions are very fear-based. I know that.
She belongs to one of them.
Oh.
The oldest one.
Okay. Christianity.
No, it's Christianity.
Catholic, yeah.
I'm not going to then base the whole of Christianity.
Oh, and that's, we're just being totally honest here. We can talk about that. So, traditional Christianity, particularly Catholicism, was based on the idea of original sin. That you are a sinner, you are born a sinner, you will die a sinner, and you have to go regularly to say your penance and confess your sins. And then you temporarily absolve, but you're going to sin again, and then you've got to come back the next week. And every time you do that, obviously you're reliant on this institution, and you make donations. So it's a business model. Guilt becomes,
I think it stands
lucrative.
for most Christian ideas, and even with putting spiritual church. I just took note the other day. This is before they shut down again, and I went to church. Because every second hymn is all about sin and sinners, and I think that's my next reading about sin. Really, they've asked me to read sometimes. I would. Would that be a good one? What would be the best reading out of this as far as this COVID goes? How's that?
Well, there's many passages, but I think fear. This is really it's about fear. So the problem is a spiritual problem. It's the manifestation of it seems to be, it's medical and it's science, but actually it comes down to a thought system. Which thought system are you going to believe in? Are you going to believe in the ego? If you believe in it, some part of it, you've got to believe in it all, because it's a complete system unto itself. You believe you're a body, you believe you're separate, you believe in external causation, you believe the virus is real, you believe you can be harmed by it, you can believe you can die. That's all pretty fearful if you buy into that whole thing. And Jesus is saying, look, it's one or the other. You can't believe in all of that and those illusions and still believe in truth and love and still be fearless. It's one or the other. If you're going to believe in this, you've got to believe entirely or not at all. So actually, no, external causation is not true. The truth is I'm making myself sick. And he says that over, sickness is a defense against the truth. Lesson 136, I think. Sickness is a defense against the truth. That's another one you could use. Sickness, fear, there's lessons and there's lots of passages about this in the course. Because why would we be so attached to sickness? Why have we created this it's a vast system now designed around sickness, really? Look at what's happening. Sickness is now controlling the world. Why would we be so invested in doing that? Well, the course explains it. The reason why you're so invested in doing it is because it seemingly justifies a separate self. You're now a body. You're now separate from everyone else. You can be threatened. You can get sick. You can die. This all makes you, the little you, real, doesn't it? In your mind.
I think it's also a huge fear of dying, of death.
Which is the ego's illusion. But you can't die. If you are an eternal, immortal being, it's impossible. Your body can disappear. Your body is temporary. It's made by the ego, but your spirit is immortal. It's eternal. It cannot
that's what
die.
most religions say, but I think that's one of the biggest causes
What?
the fear of death.
Well, it's a misperception. If you perceive yourself as physical, as a body, then you're gonna fear death, because then when the body ceases, I'm gonna cease to exist. That's very fearful. The ego is like, oh, it's terrible. So at all costs, we must protect the body. Protect the body, you protect your entire life. This is your existence, says the ego.
Yeah.
So you must protect yourself. You must wear the mask. You must wash your hands and use hand sanitizer multiple times a day, because I'm a body, and oh my God, this might actually, kill my body. But if I'm not a body, what am I really scared about? I can't really die. The body's going to die anyway. Like you're gonna at some point, the body will cease to exist anyway. So if that happens tomorrow or it happens in 30 years, does it, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter?
Yeah.
What matters is your state of mind while you're here. Am I in fear or not? If you die in a fearful state, and you die still in a state of attachment to your body, that you think you're a body, guess what? You're going to come back, because that's your belief. You believe you're a body. Well, hey, you reincarnate. You come back into another body again, because that's your belief. That's what your mind wants. As he says, if you want illusions to be true, you'll keep making illusions. That's how we made the whole world. We want the illusion to be true, and we keep making it up with our minds, and we keep coming back into it.
What is, you might want to use this in another discussion. What is your perception of heaven?
Heaven is simply a state of mind. It's not a place, not a physical place. It's a state of mind. It's a state of being. It's a state in which there is no fear. There is nothing other than pure love. There's one single emotion: love. We call it love. Words don't even do it justice. You can't really even describe it. So Jesus says, at the beginning of this course, he says, the purpose of this course is not a course in revelation. It can't reveal knowledge to you, but it can prepare the way.
So people can die and still not be in heaven.
No, absolutely. If you die in fear and you still think you're a body, and you've got, all these unresolved issues, then you will reincarnate. Which is reincarnation, as David Hoffman says, is a perceptual problem. You misperceive yourself. You think that you're a body. You think that you have a separate identity. You think, therefore, that you're a body. And that belief is so powerful that it will keep you coming back. Your mind will come into another body, attach itself to another body, to experience another lifetime, to play out that belief. And it's going to do that over and over until you stop the belief, until you go, I'm not a body. I'm a spirit. I'm spirit. I'm not a spirit. I am spirit. I'm eternal. I'm immortal. My body is a temporary illusion. It's a vehicle that while I'm here, if I come into knowledge, if I really understand who I am, it can be quite useful. I can use my body to communicate to others, to help others to wake up from the dream, to help myself awaken. That's the only purpose of it. But the purpose of the body is not to protect itself, to fear for its life. That's a misperception. If you think the body is you, then you are going to be very, very prone to fear.
My mother was pretty open-minded, but she studied various other religions, not religion, but what can you call it? But
Spiritual teaching.
She was horrified to find that she had not settled down. She took a long time to settle down when she died. She seemed to be frustrated that she still wanted to do things and be with me and all sorts of things.
Yeah, well,
And I actually felt, I felt a bit, also that I felt a bit helpless, that I couldn't do anything about it.
all you can do is love.
That's another thing. It kind of jogged my mind. Ever since I did Lisa Natoli's course, it said, and I do it every hour, that's how I start my day. I think of my friends and I send love to everyone, not just my friends, my relatives, whatever. And I thought, well, what about the people that I know help me from spirit? Should one send it to them as well?
Why not?
To get to them.
Love is what Jesus is saying is love is universal. Love is everywhere.
So,
in fact, the body is a limit on love. We've put ourselves in bodies to limit this infinite expanse of love. To go, no, actually, that's not here. And now we come into an illusion.
Love can reach them.
Absolutely.
I started doing that.
Love is eternal and immortal, and it has no boundaries. So any mind, remember, if we're all one, if you love any part of the sonship, as Jesus calls us, this one mind, you're actually sending love to all of it. There's no real distinction because there's no separate entities. They're not really separate. They're just minds. They might think they're still separate, but actually there's only one mind. There's only one of us. So if you love in the divine sense, and you really go, I'm one with you, and I feel in my heart that openness, that expansiveness, that extension, then it's going everywhere.
But it was better than nothing, the way Lisa put it, to these people. Obviously, I don't think of everyone every day, but
We don't even have to think of individuals because they're not individuals. It's just love is love. So you go, all I need to do is connect with that feeling, that nice, warm, open-hearted, connected, expansive feeling, and just feel like it's coming through me and extending out. And as you give it, you receive it. So you will feel that, and then you become a vessel for that. And it's all happening in the unseen. You can't see this, but you become the light of the world when you do that. You are now becoming a vessel, a channel for God's love, in all dimensions, this world, other worlds, because there is no real separation. The separation is a construct of the ego. We think we're here and they're there, but that's not really true. It's all mind. There's no real separation in mind.
And these dimensions?
Dimens means two minds, split mind, right? Two di means two, mens means mind. So it means a split mind. So a dimension, by definition, relies on the idea of separation, right? There's some kind of separation. What the Course is teaching is there's no separation. Separation is an illusion. So all of these dimensions, all of these separations, all of these levels that we've constructed that make up this illusion are simply unreal. There is no separation where there's only one mind.
Because, on TV, you get like a program called The Ghost Hunters. I don't often watch it, but there are places, in certain places, that people's homes are definitely haunted by people who'd lived there before or had something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had my own experience, well, not me, my mom and dad. We went to stay with my aunt on the way to holiday one day. We were going to Northern Natal, and these people lived in an old house. What is that area called? And they said this place is haunted. Because one day this guy was having a bath, a tenant, and he put the soap on the floor, and it shifted right across the room. But especially someone walking up and down the stairs. I didn't hear it, but my mom and dad heard it when we stayed overnight. They actually heard this up and down. Now, why is that? Are ghost people here? What is it?
Well, I'll explain. So remember, they're not really people; they're minds. Okay. So it's a mind which is still confused about its identity. So that mind has not actually moved on. They still think they're human, and they still want to keep doing the same things that they did when they were human, except now they don't have a physical body. But they still have mind. They have an existence, It's just not there's no body in this realm. And so the mind keeps doing the same things. I think they still think they're human.
Oh.
Mind keeps doing the same things that they did over and over.
Is there no one over there that will automatically help them, like angels or whatever?
I don't know. I can't say for sure. We don't know. These realms. I think any mind can be helped if it's open to being helped. But if it's got stuck into a loop, which I think ghosts do, it's like a loop. Yeah. So they're in a mental loop, and they just keep replaying the same thing over and over again. And because there's really no time, they keep doing this, and they until somehow that mind breaks free of that pattern and goes, hang on, what am I doing here? Really, this doesn't make any sense, walking up and down the stairs every night. I'm not really human. I want to break free of this. When any mind is ready, I think then help will be given, because the light is there for every mind. Yeah, and so I think these minds get trapped, and they still think they're human, and they stay around in these locations, and then because it's all connected, their mind activity, them doing that has an effect. It's all energy, has an energetic effect in this world, and then we can perceive that. And so we go, oh, the stairs are creaking, or some people can see them, they can see because it's a projection, it's a mental projection. They're projecting themselves. This is all projection. This body is a projection.
The one that is the ghost is projecting.
Yes,
itself.
it's still, it's a.
How does it do that?
Well, it's all mind. How do we do this? How do we project our physical bodies?
Okay.
So, it's another version of the same thing. It's, to quote the Matrix, I think Morpheus said, oh, this is a digital projection of your mental self, if I recall. But it's a projection into this matrix of your mind. And so if the mind still believes in that physical form, which is the body now no longer exists, but the mind has still got a belief in it, it projects that image, it holds that image, and it projects it into the illusion. And now you see that.
And lost their body, surely something must connect that are no longer a body.
Not necessarily. If you really fixate on the belief that you're a body, it's a belief. Until that belief is undone, you continue to believe in it. And I think that's what's happened. That's what happens.
Sounds so frustrating, eh?
Well, they're trapped. They're trapped minds. They haven't moved on. And probably at some point they'll have to reincarnate, and they'll come back and replay. But maybe they can get trapped there for hundreds of years. There's no time, really, in that dimension. There's no time.
Well, I'm surprised that the Holy Spirit doesn't do something about it and say, look, you have to reincarnate now. So
well, you got to
not trapped all the time.
You got to understand, the Holy Spirit is not like an agent that goes, oh, I'm going to do this for you. The Holy Spirit is your own awareness of oneness.
No,
The Holy Spirit.
Is there nothing?
Well,
an agent of God.
Well, the Holy Spirit is there when they are ready. When they are ready and they invite that presence in, then it will come. So it's always there. But if they've got themselves so stuck in a little loop, people get stuck all the time. You see it. I mentioned, my sister. It's like you get stuck in these mental patterns. Fear is a false mental pattern that the mind has got trapped in and stuck in.
So it's fear has done that as well.
Well, it's all, the course is very clear. It's only fear or love. They're two thought systems.
Okay.
So everything that's not of the light and love is fear. Whatever you call that can show up as guilt. It can show up as pain, suffering, attack thoughts, anger, jealousy, rage, whatever. It's all fear. What you're really fearing is the light. You're fearing yourself, which is insane. You're fearing the truth of who you really are, and you prefer to hold to the illusion of who you are, which is the separate self, even though it doesn't make you happy. And but you can get so stuck in that it becomes very difficult to break free.
Can a ghost protect you? Can it do bodily harm? Well,
I think it could only do that if you allowed it to. If you fear, then fear attracts. You got to understand, we live in the quantum field. So if you're fearing and you've got those dark energies and emotions, you will tend to attract in things that vibrate on the same frequency. And so dark entities, etc., can then come if you invite them in, because you're vibrating on the same frequency. If you're in the light, say you're a Jesus, a Buddha, anyone who's just like fearless, there's no resonance there for them. They vibrate on a different frequency. They can't really interact with you. As Jesus says, the Holy Spirit and the ego just have no communication. They're opposite. They're separate entities.
I remember like one house was built on what used to be a Red Indian graveyard. Now they were advanced people, the Red Indians, but perhaps not all the tribes. And people were attacked and everything. I think that's rather strange. Why protect what used to be a graveyard?
Well, it's belief. People believe in ancestors, that it's ancestor worship, that somehow they are still present there, so we must protect them.
Okay.
You got to understand, belief is really powerful. Belief is what dictates everything we do, right? Belief drives the entire world. But if your belief is false, then it's going to create falsity. You're going to believe in false things. You're going to have all these weird beliefs about the body, and now you still attach the body and the mind. Jesus is very clear, saying you are not a body. I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. He's not saying you sort of a body and you sort of a mind. He's saying, no, you're a spirit. You are pure mind. That's all you really are. That's your true identity. Everything else is false. So very uncompromising teaching. But it's the only way out. Because if you are somewhat a body, well, then apparently fear is somewhat justified, because I'm a body and this has some reality, and I can get sick and I can get hurt and I can die. And now I start fearing all these illusions, which the ego's created to justify the existence of a separate self in a body. It's a self-perpetuating system. That's what Jesus is trying to teach. And if you buy into some of it, you buy into all of it. So we have to go, no, I'm not buying into any part of this. None of it, because it's all illusion. Illusion is illusion is illusion. Whether it's COVID-19, whether it's vaccinations, whether it's lockdowns, whether it's economic stress, whether it's homeschooling, whatever it is that's pushing your buttons. And this is the way you ride the wild tide of change. You go, I see it all for what it is. All change is illusion. All change is illusion. Because the one self, the one mind of God has no change. There is no change. It's eternal. It's permanent. There's no change in that. And that's the only place you'll find true security, is if you attach your mind to that and nothing else. The moment you allow the possibility of change in your mind, then all of this becomes possible. It all becomes real. There's apparently stuff to fear because things can change, as we know, moment by moment.
An advanced avatar like Buddha or Jesus, they can incarnate again if they want to. Because I heard that Jesus had incarnated into a Syrian body. But
Wow.
there must be a very good reason for that. That
I
came to help.
I doubt, there's many theories. Many people say, Jesus is incarnated and he's this, he's now a Syrian body, or who knows? How do they know? There's no proof of that. It's totally speculation. So when people say that, there's absolutely no evidence for that. That's someone's belief. Okay, you believe that. Is that true? Probably not. Because most 99.9% of people's beliefs are false. You believe that because you want to believe it. Okay, well, why would Jesus need to incarnate into a body? He's beyond that. He's moved beyond that. He's pure spirit now, and he can speak through bodies, just like he spoke through Helen Schuckman. When okay, I'll just use someone else's body. I don't need to have my own body. I'm the Holy Spirit. I'm everywhere. He's not one body. He's everywhere. He's the very essence of spirit that can now come into your mind, into my mind, into everyone's mind, and speak through us and use us. And that's what he's exhorting us to do. He's saying, look, I am you. I am in you, and I will help you and I will guide you. If you allow it, it's up to you. You've got free will. You can choose. But if you allow me to, I will come through as this presence of the Holy Spirit and I will guide you. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it Jesus, you can call it Buddha, you can call it the Holy Spirit, you can call it intuition, you can call it the Atman, the soul, you can call it the great white rabbit if you want. It doesn't really matter, because there's a presence, there's an essence that will come through if you allow it, if you invite it, and it will show you. It will help you actually in quite specific ways. I'll say, okay, in your life, in this little construct, this illusion that you're living out, this would be a helpful thing to do or to say. And then it gives you the guidance and it prompts you. And when you truly become the avatar, you are that presence. There's nothing else. You've merged with the presence of God, the voice for God, the Holy Spirit, and it becomes you, and it comes through you, and you become a voice for it in the world, just like Jesus was. A voice for a transcendent presence that says there's nothing to fear. You're all dreaming. Yes, you can dream up fears, and you can believe in them in illusions and nightmares, but none of this is true. None of this is real. So I've come here to be a light unto the world, to say there is this place, there's this state of mind that is fearless. And you can find that right now. It's available to you. You don't have to die to achieve it. You can experience it right now, as you are, still in a physical body. And you can become a light unto the world, a fearless presence in this world of darkness, which you can inspire others to find that same presence in themselves. I sent out that quote yesterday on our deepest fear. And it's so beautiful. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. That's actually what we fear. We fear our light, not our darkness.
As Nelson Mandela quoted,
He quoted it, which is amazing. So you got this world leader, and he was touched by those words, which were inspired by A Course in Miracles. So he was influenced by these ideas of forgiveness and love, which meant that he was an outstanding leader. He was very different because he believed in something else. He believed in forgiveness and in love and in reconciliation rather than fear and hatred and attack. And he stood for that. And he brought a lot of healing into this country and into the world. Yeah, but his spirit hasn't died. That spirit is available to you. It's available to me. The same spirit that inspired him is available to everyone. So it's up to us. Nelson had his time. He did his part. He played his part in his time, and then he left because the body is not going to last. Just like they all left. Jesus left. Buddha left. Gandhi left. But what they left behind is a legacy of look, there's a spirit here. The same spirit that was in me that inspired me to do these great things is in you. I wasn't anything great. I just I allowed the spirit to come into me and to inspire me and to guide me. And then I did these things, as an extension of the spirit.
Did he study A Course in Miracles, or
who?
Nelson Mandela, or did he get it from?
I honestly don't know. I would love to know, but I suspect probably not. I suspect he read Marianne Williamson's book, A Return to Love. He must have, because he quoted from it. So he must have read. And I think he was a pretty dedicated student, so he probably read the entire book. And so indirectly, he was influenced by the course. Whether he studied it himself, doesn't really matter, because the ideas are universal. He was inspired by those ideas, and there was no doubt that influenced his entire career. He came out of prison, and he was a transformed man. He was no longer angry. There was no longer hatred and fear. Something had dropped in those 27 years, and he came out in the spirit of forgiveness, of love, of reconciliation. And that's South Africa. We transformed this country because of that. No other reason. If someone had been addicted to fear and hatred and vengeance had come in, it would have been a very, very different situation. Yeah, but in that time, it was absolutely critical that there were two men, the two leaders on both sides came together, and there was a meeting of minds. De Klerk was he was also, I've come here to do God's work. I'm here to lead my people into a more peaceful, prosperous future, And this is the only way. We have to let go. We have to willingly let go of power. Otherwise, we are going to bring about our own destruction. If we hold on to this, we are going to have a civil war. There's going to be lots of suffering and bloodshed and violence. And so he saw that. So there was a meeting of minds, and there was a letting go of power and a transfer which had to happen at some point. And it all worked amazingly. That, in fact, I think that is the first time in human history that has happened. That a majority a group, an ethnic group that has had power, has willingly relinquished it to another ethnic group. Has willingly given it over and said, all right, we're just going to let go of this. So there was a great letting go. There was a forgiveness that happened, and that brought about a lot of healing. And that's why the country.
Still a hell of a lot to go.
Well, people are still in the ego, and unfortunately we've regressed since those days of Nelson Mandela.
Exactly.
Spiritually, our leaders are not anywhere like Nelson Mandela.
No.
They don't have the same understanding. They don't have the same wisdom. So, inevitably, if you get egoic people running your country, then what happens is it doesn't work out so well.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Ramaphosa, because he's always had, he's got several farms run by white people. He cannot, he has to do what the rebels say, otherwise he's out.
Well, I disagree.
So what do you do?
I disagree. Nelson did not do what the rebels said. Nelson said, you know what? What the people need is leadership.
They were trying to get him out before he even got to power.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's easy, but what people need is inspired leadership. They don't need more fear, more control. They need someone inspiring, saying, look, I'll lead you out of the fear and out of the darkness.
Has to be someone exceptional.
Well, we had one. We were very lucky, Nelson Mandela. Hopefully someone else. But I think the whole system is going to change. I think this whole system is crumbling. I think we're going to see radical change in the next 5 to 10 years of an entirely different system. And that's not necessarily government and leaders controlling us and telling us what we should do and passing laws. I think everything is changing, which is good.
I just feel if you can't do it, there's no one else to do it at the moment.
What about us, Hazel? We have enormous power. I mean, this is going out. I don't know how many people watch this. Maybe only 10 or 20 people when I'm watching this video.
Outnumbered. What can we do?
Well, you've got a lot. You have your own broadcast channel. I'm broadcasting here. There could be a million people who watch this. I doubt it. YouTube will probably take it down because I said things I shouldn't have said. We can't say anything that's unpolitically correct or whatever. But I'll put it out there, and people, before they take it down, hopefully some people will see it, because the truth needs to be got out there. And with the power of digital media and stuff, hey, why couldn't we create a YouTube? It's possible. You just need some capital and some IT. And so I think we're living in a very interesting time. And if you can just get out of your fear and go, actually, there's another way. And this is really about transforming my mind. So I've got to change my mind first. I can't expect anyone else to change until I've changed. But if I can change my mind, I can be a catalyst for change in many others. Because everyone is looking for the light. Everyone is looking for a way out of fear. Even those who are addicted to it. Actually, what they're really doing is they're asking for help. It's a cry for love. They're saying, help me. I'm struggling here. I'm in my own little prison. I'm in darkness. And what's needed is light workers, is people miracle workers, who are going to go out and go, actually, there's another way of seeing this. This is all good. This COVID and this, because it's shaking everything up. It's making us all question fundamental assumptions and illusions that we've believed in for years and years and years. And the only way you're ever going to undo those is if you question them.
Yeah.
And then it's quite inspiring. That's how you ride the wild tide of change. Okay, bring it on. Because actually, I am invincible. I'm invulnerable. My spirit cannot die. So whatever happens in the illusion, okay, doesn't matter, really, because I'm coming from that foundation of absolutely rock-solid faith in who I truly am.
There was a stage this week when I didn't want to look at my WhatsApp, because just taking, for instance, my one file belongs to, oh my God, I can just feel the fear, really, really got me down.
Yeah, but your job is not to allow it to get you down. If you're going to be the light, then you can't allow fear to enter into your own mind. You can't be a miracle worker.
I was just cut for it.
Yeah, but any negative.
Anything but fear.
But negative, okay, but were you angry?
Yeah, I'm just sick of it.
Okay.
I'm sick of it.
But you're still reacting negatively to an illusion. So it's actually just another form of fear. You're allowing their fear to now transmit to you, and it transmits.
It's not fear, more frustration than anything.
But you're still giving power to something external to you. If you're truly in the light, Hazel, if you're truly in the light, then nothing external should affect you. You're the light of the world. Nothing, and then there's nothing else. Whatever illusions are happening doesn't matter. And that's the state of mind that people like Jesus and Buddha were able to attain and hold consistently in their lives. I am the light. I'm the light of the world, and nothing can really affect that. It doesn't matter what illusions are happening in the world. There are always going to be illusions playing out. I'm still the light. My eternal, immortal being is not affected by any of this. And in that we find power, we find light, we find joy, it's like, hallelujah for that. None of this stuff really matters. It's illusion. It can't really harm me at all. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. Yeah, but here's the thing, okay? So to finish this up, what you got to remember is that your entire journey here is a journey of overcoming your own fear. It's letting go of your own fear and your own darkness. That's the entire purpose of your human life. So if something like this happens in your life, it's a great opportunity, because what you're seeing is fear, right? This is like a overload of ego fear. So now you've got the chance to really look at it, to look at your own fear and go, okay, do I buy this? Do I believe this or not? Am I going to allow myself to fear because of this or not? And so it brings you to a point of choice. You can now choose. Am I going to believe in the ego and I'm going to fear this? Or am I going to hold true to these principles? You've been studying the course a long time. But it's about application. Do I apply these ideas consistently? Do I consistently hold to this fearless presence in myself? Or do I allow myself to go into fear and darkness and doubt?
I'm not in fear. I never feared this COVID for 1 minute.
But you get irritated by it.
Yeah.
And it pushes your buttons. Well, that's a form of negativity, which is a form of fear. Because now there's something other than love going on in your mind. So it's just fear manifesting in another form. Anger is a form of fear. Guilt is a form of fear. Rage, jealousy, any constricted negative feeling where you're feeling like less than totally loving and peaceful and joyful is fear.
Okay.
And it's just recognizing it for what it is and then going, there's nothing to fear. Remember this lesson. It's a powerful one. It's a really simple one. It's like there's nothing to fear. And you laugh. You go, this is just a dream. I'm dreaming a dream. And in the dream, there seems to be things to fear. But if it's just a dream, there really is nothing to fear. Yeah. It's a dream world. It's an illusion. I can't take it seriously anymore. Yeah, we can. So let's do a little closing. So just close your eyes. Drop your hands in your lap. Take a nice deep breath in. And just breathe in this fearless presence. Put your hand on your heart. Breathe it into your heart. Breathe it into your mind, into every pore, every cell of your body. Imagine this beautiful golden